Good morning from Land of Tastes in Hoyk. Here we are again, scone time. Yep, some people say to me, I have always used a Magimix food blender, whatever you would like to call it. This little baby's been with me for years. It just keeps going and going. Only job it really does is the scones in the morning. So rather than, as some people will do, need your butter, margarine, whatever you like to use, we just put the quantities in there, blitz them up, then you see, as you've got there in the bowl, the flour and margarine that is mixed up. Next stage, as you can see, we've basically got our sugar and sultanas added for today for our fruit scones. So next stage of the mix, just to basically mix it nicely together. Again, it's all about the right quantity of fruit, so you're not got too much and weighs the scones down too much. So yeah, that's basically the next stage, as is there, and we'll then go to a little egg and milk mix. Pour some of that in now, and that'll usually do to start off with. Just going through the phases of doing the scones in the morning. As you can see, now we have the fruit scones kind of ready to go. It's always about a texture thing. You don't want this part to be too wet, as it were. And when you're cutting, always a good advice is, if you've rolled it out and you've got your piece here, always try and cut, try and show that there, so that the scone, when you cut it, is basically to the size of the cutter. You don't want it, again, so it's there again, you can see it there, the depth of the cutter, and then therefore gives you the right size of scone when it rises. A lot of people ask, why, well, not necessarily why, but our scones are very, very consistent. One thing one woman couldn't get over is the fact that I've never used bicarbonate soda. I know it says recipes, but it's just not something that I've ever used. And like I say, the scones tend to rise. You can see here we've got some treacle, which we've got some treacle already in the oven. So there they are. Oh, steaming up a wee bit. So they're already in from before. And again, it's like everything with scones. It's down to the butter that you use, or margarine, whatever your preference is. And obviously the flour that you use as well, because you can get some very cheap brands of flour which will make an effect when you come to do the scones. And always with scones, try and not overcrowd, so you've got space for them to rise up a little bit. If you crowd them in too much, they will tend to stick together, especially when you've got two flavours on the one tray there. As you can see now, we've just lightly egged and milked the top of the scones, ready for the next lot to go in after these treacle that you saw earlier come out. Another thing people ask, obviously sometimes we do have to do increases. An interesting point is we use margarine for this, and it's a good quality margarine that we use for it. But this tub of margarine, when I first started the business, would have probably cost me about £2.40. Now that same tub is costing me £6 and 5 pence, I think it was last week. So it just shows you the jump and the increase when we talk about food costs just now. That's the same with the flours. Everything has just went up so much. So simple product like your scone can still end up being a fairly expensive product for what it actually is. But we all love them. And yes, it's one of those things. Another point that somebody made to me the other day, how many scones do you think you do in a week? Well, I couldn't actually answer in the week. Well, I could have if I worked out a bit quicker. But we do know when we looked just recently that since we opened the business, we've probably made over 50,000 scones. Hard to believe that these little devils every day that we're open, and you're making maybe 3 batches, 4 batches for a day. It's amazing how they mount up. So again, there's just some more facts on your scones. Here's our final batch today. Very bright orange, isn't it? This is our cheese scones. Again, there's your normal mix underneath, as you can see. And then it's just a case of then we mix the flour and cheese in. Some people might be saying, no, there seems to be quite a bit of cheese there. I think there is different ways that you see people do cheese scones. I think sometimes when I worked down in England, a lot of times they would put a piece of cheese over the top of the scone and then bake the scones. I don't really understand that. It's maybe just different areas do different things. I just think if you've got enough cheese in your scones mix, then you want to taste the cheese, and that's all that matters. Out with that, again, no bicarb. We just have salt and a little bit of salt and a little bit of dried English mustard and a lovely mature coloured Scottish cheddar. I mean, some people again will tend to use white cheddar, which I think is a bit pointless because again, it doesn't give you that kind of look as a cheese scone. It'll be very light in colour rather than a slightly more orange colour that you would expect with a mature coloured one. So this is the third batch for today. We've obviously had treacle, fruit and cheese today. Just another quick note when you're doing your scones, that's the cheese starting to come together. But sometimes when you're mixing the scones, don't be frightened once you've got your mixture in and you start kneading it together and it's sticky, and it's that's a fairly dry hand, as I would say, after mixing. But if you find that the scone mix is sticking to your hands, it's sticking to the bowls, it's just a bit too tacky, you put all your quantities in and everything should be there and you're thinking, oh goodness, I'll just leave it as it is and then continue. Don't be frightened just to go in and just put a wee bit more flour in, and that'll just bring it all together again. So when you come to roll it out in its piece, then it's a good texture and good feel to it for actually cutting the scones. So like I say, don't have it too sticky. As you can see, there's not a lot there, not a lot in my hands. So if that's there and you've got a lot of scone on your hands or on the bowl, around the bowl, then a little touch, another little handful of flour, mix it in, and then it'll bring it back together again. Just another wee tip. So there you are, that's the cheese scone out as a piece now. And like I say, this is where I mentioned before, where I just don't quite understand why people put cheese on the top of the scone once they've cut it. Because I just think, if you cut that scone now, and that's as it is, you can clearly see there's enough cheese in that scone. I just think if you're putting cheese on the top, you're not putting enough in the actual scone. It's just trying to do less, probably save a little bit of money by putting it on the top. So I'd rather have cheese right through the scone. As you can see the colour. Again, if that was a white cheddar, you wouldn't be seeing all the orange there. And obviously it's a bit stronger flavour. Sometimes the white cheddars are not quite as strong. So yeah, just another tip on the cheese scones. And just quickly, you can see that that's our treacle out. Look, not too bad. The smell is absolutely gorgeous. It's the spices that you get the smell of as they come out of the oven. So yeah, very popular treacle. Probably don't make them enough, but there you are, they're out today. And we're on Wednesday. You can see things coming out now. That's the treacles all ready to go out. We've got the cheese already sorted to go in. Some more fruit there come in. More cheese, more cheese. And you can see at the moment we've got some fruit in and some last of the treacle in as well. I think probably bakers would tell you, but I definitely think when you're doing any baking of any sort, whether it be scones, cakes, bread, it's very much a mood thing. I think sometimes it can tell on how things turn out. I think if you're feeling okay and you're in a good frame of mind, the product tends to be very good as well. Whereas sometimes if you're just a bit irritable, a bit, you know, not on your game, it can reflect in your baking. I don't know if that's just a chef thing, but I certainly do feel that sometimes, you know, maybe not quite as good as you would normally have them. They don't rise as well. It can come down to a lot of things, how you're kneading it, you know, maybe kneading it a bit too aggressively. So yeah, there's a lot of things. Again, I do think, you know, types of flour you use, quality of butter, margarine that you use, it all comes down to it. But yes, I do think it does reflect on the final product as you've got like so. So that's my thoughts on scones today. I'll do a last minute one when you see them all finished up and into the serving area with the cakes, and you'll see what's there for today, Wednesday the 3rd of July. That's scones that you've watched this morning, all ready to go for today, Wednesday 3rd of July. Fruit, treacle and cheese, all there ready for you to enjoy. And check out our videos later on to follow the whole cooking procedure this morning.